Paul steps foot in Corinth. In the first century, this city functioned as an economic engine, serving as a primary junction for trade routes moving across the Roman Empire. Here, he meets Aquila and Priscilla. They are recent arrivals themselves, forced out of Rome after the Emperor Claudius ordered the mass exile of the city's Jewish population. The three share a highly practical bond. They are all working-class tradespeople, specifically tent makers. Paul moves in, and they work together to sustain their ministry. During the week, Paul works, but every Sabbath he executes his standard operational playbook. He goes to the local synagogue to reason with the established Jewish and Greek communities. But this strategy hits a wall. The primary audience he is trying to reach fiercely rejects his message, eventually resorting to outright blasphemy. This creates a massive structural problem. The fledgling movement is now effectively locked out of the very demographic it was designed to target. Paul reaches his breaking point. He shakes out his clothes, sending the dust flying, and formally declares he is done. From now on, he will take his message exclusively to the Gentiles. He initiates a strategic relocation, moving his base directly next door to the synagogue, into a Gentile's home. The results are immediate. The synagogue's ruler believes, and soon a multiplying cluster of Corinthians convert and are baptized. This sudden traction is backed up by a divine directive. The Lord speaks to Paul in a vision at night, telling him not to be afraid and assuring him of protection. Paul stays in Corinth to teach for another 18 months. This demographic pivot proved the movement was not culturally fixed. By shifting targets, Paul found an audience that allowed the church to scale under pressure. The displaced opposition soon regroups. They unite, grab Paul, and drag him before the Roman governor of the region, a man named Gallio, hoping to crush the movement legally. Their accusation is highly specific. They claim Paul is persuading men to worship God contrary to the law, attempting to frame his teachings as a threat to state order. Paul prepares to defend himself, but he doesn't even get the chance to open his mouth. Gallio interrupts and dismisses the case entirely, viewing it as a meaningless internal dispute over words and names. Gallio's apathy is absolute. When the crowd takes Sosthenes, the chief ruler of the synagogue, and beats him right in front of the judgment seat, Gallio watches and simply does nothing. By refusing to rule, Gallio inadvertently created a massive legal loophole. His indifference effectively granted the Christian sect the de facto state protection it needed to operate openly without Roman interference. Eventually, Paul leaves Corinth to establish new hubs. He travels to Ephesus and leaves his trusted partners, Aquila and Priscilla, behind to manage the operations in the city. While Paul is away, a man named Apollos arrives in Ephesus. He is a highly educated and eloquent Jewish man from Alexandria who speaks boldly about the Lord. There is just one critical flaw in his ministry. Despite his passion and deep knowledge of the scriptures, his theological training is incomplete. He only knows the baptism of John. Here, the decentralized network proves its worth. Instead of waiting for Paul to return, Aquila and Priscilla pull Apollos aside and mentor him, filling in the gaps of his understanding. Fully equipped, Apollos travels to Achaia with the endorsement of the local disciples. He immediately becomes a massive public asset, powerfully defending the faith and proving through the scriptures that Jesus is the Christ. Acts 18 documents the mechanics of a scaling movement. The expansion relied on strategic pivots to new demographics, the tactical use of legal loopholes, and a decentralized structure that empowered new leaders to operate independently of any single founder.